The sound came through the cracked door like a blade through a silk soft, casual, unmistakable. I cut the brakes. He won't be driving anywhere for a while. My breath stopped. My hand froze on the stair rail, and in that instant, I knew that whatever came next would shatter our family forever. Before we go any further, take a second to like this video, subscribe for more true emotional stories, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from, because this story is about fear, loyalty, and the kind of choice that haunts you long after the truth comes out. I'd married Daniel 5 years earlier, believing love could stitch together the torn edges of our lives. He had a son, Ethan, from his first marriage, smart, distant, sharp-eyed in a way that made adults uneasy. I tried, God knows I tried, to be the steady presence. Rides to practice, late night talks about school, the quiet promise that I wasn't there to replace anyone, just to care. Daniel was patient and kind, a man who fixed things with his hands and problems with listening. But the house carried tension like a low electrical hum. Ethan resented the rules, the curfews, the way Daniel insisted on accountability. "You don't get to float through life," Daniel would say gently. "You own your choices." That night, the house was supposed to be asleep. I'd come down for water when I heard Ethan's voice from the study, low and smug, talking to someone on speaker. I leaned closer, heart pounding. "He deserves it," Ethan said, always on my case. "This'll shut him up." My stomach lurched. I pushed the door open, and Ethan spun, eyes wide, phone slipping from his hand. "What did you do?" I asked, my voice barely mine. He stared back, jaw tight. "You didn't hear anything." I ran. Out the door, down the driveway, to Daniel's truck. The smell of oil and cold metal hit me as I crouched, shaking, and saw it clean cuts where the line should have been whole. My knees buckled. I called Daniel with fingers that wouldn't cooperate, my voice breaking as I told him not to drive, not to move, to stay where he was. He arrived minutes later in my car, confusion giving way to horror as he saw what I saw. We stood there under the porch light, the truth heavy between us. "It was Ethan," I said. Daniel closed his eyes, a sound tearing out of him like grief. Inside, Ethan was waiting, arms crossed, defiant. Daniel asked him once, quietly. Ethan smirked. "You're always threatening consequences," he said. "Guess I beat you to it." I expected yelling. I expected fury. What I didn't expect was the way Daniel's shoulders sagged, the way his face aged in a second. He looked at me, and I knew the question he couldn't ask. What do we do now? The easy answer, the loud one, was the police. The right answer, maybe. But the house was full of fragile things. A marriage, a father's love, a boy standing on the edge of something dark. I asked Daniel to let me handle it for one night. He nodded, hollow. I went to Ethan's room and sat on the floor outside his door. "I know you think this is power," I said through the wood. "But it's not. It's a cliff." Silence. Then softer, "He deserves it." I didn't argue. I didn't threaten. I told him a story about my own brother, who'd crossed the line thinking it would make him feel bigger, safer, in control, and how the moment after is always the loneliest place. "You don't get to choose what this becomes," I said. "But you get to choose what you do next." In the morning, I called a lawyer friend and a counselor. I documented everything, photos, times, words. I made copies and put them in envelopes. I took Ethan to school like nothing had happened, my hands steady on the wheel while my heart screamed. That afternoon, I asked Daniel to meet me at the counselor's office. Ethan arrived last, slouching, annoyed. I laid the envelopes on the table. "Here's what I overheard," I said. "Here's what I found. Here's what happens if this goes to the police." Ethan's bravado cracked. "You wouldn't," he said. I slid another envelope forward. "Here's what happens if it doesn't." It wasn't leniency. It was a path with teeth, mandatory counseling, a written confession held by the lawyer, restitution for repairs, community service, A contract signed by all three of us, spelling out consequences if he broke it. And one more thing, you move out, I said. Not forever, but now. You'll live with your mother while you do the work? Daniel's face twisted, pain and relief colliding. Ethan's eyes filled, then hardened. You're choosing him over me? He spat. I shook my head. I'm choosing life, I said. The weeks that followed were brutal. Daniel grieved the boy he thought he knew. I woke at night, replaying that sentence. What I did next shocked everyone, wondering if mercy could ever look like justice. Ethan fought the process at first. Missed sessions, tested boundaries. Then something shifted. A counselor called me one evening. He's scared, she said, not of punishment, of himself. Months passed. The truck was fixed. Daniel drove again, cautious, grateful. We kept our distance from Ethan, letters and updates only. On a rainy Tuesday, a package arrived. Inside was a letter in careful handwriting. Ethan wrote about the moment he realized he could have killed his father, about the sound of the word murder when the counselor said it out loud. He didn't ask forgiveness. He said thank you for not letting him become the worst version of himself. The shock wasn't that I didn't call the police that night. The shock was that accountability done right cut deeper than handcuffs ever could. A year later, Ethan came home for dinner, thinner, quieter, eyes clearer. He stood in the doorway, unsure. Daniel hugged him and cried. I watched, knowing the scar would always be there, but so would the lesson. If you ever find yourself holding a terrible truth, remember this. Doing the right thing isn't always loud. Sometimes it's steady, deliberate, and brave enough to believe that consequences can save a life.